All right. So let's start up. I'm going to call the council meeting to order, and that's going to allow us to do a couple of community bits first, okay? So let me call that. Let's do a pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. All right. Let me do a quick scan. Who's here? Molly, George, Paloma, Ren, Dan. I see Chris. Lee's here. Justice is excused. We got a note from him. Who's on electronically?
We're waiting on Drew,
Okay.
who should be on momentarily.
Okay. All right. And then that's the roll call. We're going to do a community segment first, and that's us swearing in of Nicolas Anzavino and Jonathan Underwood as police officers. So are we ready to do that?
You have the chief here if you want him to say a few words about our newest recruits.
Right. So, Chief, if you would go to the podium, give us your spiels, and then I'll come join you. All right?
Yeah, I know I've said this before. So Nicolas Anzavino was our first hire out of these two with Jonathan Underwood. Nicolas has spent some time in the U.S. Army, and he'll be as an MP, and he's actively right now in the Ulster County Sheriff's Office Police Academy, and we're looking forward to him coming to us soon. Jonathan Underwood, college graduate, 76 credits I think you have with that. Both of them are Beacon High residents. Jonathan right now is currently in the Dutchess County Police Academy, and again, looking forward to him graduating from that and joining us soon also.
Okay.
Right. So we'll be swearing in Nicholas first, and then Jonathan.
All right. Now I'm going to come join you. And what's your pleasure, Chief? You come first.
No, Nicolas was hired the day before Jonathan.
Yeah.
So we should put him
All right. So come on up over here. You want to join us?
And Ben is going to get a few photos.
All right.
Yeah.
So Nicholas, raise a right hand and swear over this way. So I, Nicolas Anzavino, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of police officer for the City of Beacon Police Department according to the best of my ability. Congratulations.
Yeah.
You signed there. I have mistakenly signed there multiple times, but I correctly put my signature down there. Yours goes there. Anything else, or just?
I think Lee just signed up to become a police officer.
Pleasure.
Can't
I gather you don't want to make a lengthy speech. All right, you good? I just want to make sure. All right, who's next? You got Jonathan? All right, you ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you can raise your right hand and then repeat after me. Do you want to be Nicolas Anzavino or Jonathan Underwood?
I'll be Jonathan Underwood.
All right, let's do that. So I, Jonathan Underwood,
I, Jonathan Underwood,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of police officer
the duties of police officer
for the City of Beacon Police Department
for the City of Beacon Police Department
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Thank you very much. Congratulations. All right. Right here.
And Mayor, could I suggest maybe a photo of you and the two candidates and the chief so the families can get some nice shots?
Okay. So you want us up here turning?
Yeah,
the
why
other
don't
way?
you come up here and turn towards...
Nick, can you join us? Yes. Okay. I'm just finishing writing in the book. Okay. And then where do you want?
Just look at Ben. And you all can move around. All right. One of those is broken. If it's my mic.
That's probably how it happened.
Is Drew on the line yet? Oh, thank you all, yeah. You're all dismissed. You could stick around for the council meeting. All right. Thank you all.
Did you get that fixed?
Yeah.
Plug back here, actually.
No, I got it fixed. But like you said, you could see how it got broken in the first place.
All right. So, Drew, are you on the line?
Yes, I am, Mayor.
All right, so I think, unless you tell me otherwise, that I'm going to entertain a motion to temporarily put pause, I don't know what the right word for pause is, on the official meeting so that we can have a workshop and then adjourn the workshop and go back to the official meeting.
You could just have a motion to start the workshop. You don't need to adjourn and restart. You're okay.
Okay.
If you go into the workshop, because it's all one public meeting. It's all the same.
All right, so a motion to start the workshop?
I have a question. Is there anyone in the audience right now related to the proclamation that you have later? I'm wondering if we should entertain a motion to maybe do that now. I don't know if that, Drew, is allowed.
Would you like to do it sooner rather than later?
Please, yeah.
Not that our sidewalks and sewer treatment isn't inherently fascinating to you, but I want to make sure that you get your
Thank you,
your time.
Molly.
I'll second your motion.
All right, so I will not take a motion at this moment. That'll keep us going on the public meeting. And I will take a motion to move the proclamation up in the agenda.
Yes, so a motion to move the proclamation up into the agenda to right after the community segment.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so the agenda has been appropriately amended. The next item on the agenda is a proclamation. So let me read it, if I could. So this is a proclamation in honor of Staff Sergeant Brian M. Faison, January 19, 1986 to June 17, 2022. Whereas America has been blessed with an abundance of men and women who proudly and bravely serve their country while sacrificing a great deal for the cherished causes of freedom and democracy. And whereas we salute their bravery and dedication to these causes and to the sovereignty of freedom-loving nations around the world, recognizing that it is an extraordinary person who willingly steps into harm's way to protect others and to defend freedom. And whereas we owe our military personnel a debt of gratitude which can never fully be repaid, and recognize our local military heroes who have given that last full measure of devotion. And whereas the City of Beacon is committed to recognizing and honoring those fine individuals who make the world a better and safer place for new generations of Americans who will continue to reap the benefits of such a proud legacy of selfless service. Whereas Staff Sergeant Brian M. Faison, a native resident of the City of Beacon, did make the ultimate sacrifice on June 17, 2022, during his Army service overseas. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Lee Kiriakou, Mayor of the City of Beacon, do hereby proclaim Saturday, July 16, 2022, as Staff Sergeant Brian M. Faison Day in the City of Beacon, and we encourage citizens in the city to reflect on his patriotism, fidelity, and sacrifice, and to thank his family for his sacrifice for our country to ensure the freedom and liberties we enjoy as Americans. Signed by me today. So, if you would, Are we just reading that?
Ben, do we have a copy to present?
I can get a copy for
Yes.
her in the back of the courtroom.
Okay, let's
Okay.
just do that. And can I ask who's here? I know some of you, I just can't quite see you all. So could you come to the podium and just tell us your names and who you are?
My name is Dalisa Munoz, and I'm the wife of Brian Faison. This is my father-in-law.
And I'm Michael Faison, Brian's father.
Yep. Yeah, Michael, I've known you for a while. And I got someone in the back. Are you here for this, or? Yes. Okay. All right, but not a family member, I know. Yeah, well, good. Thank you for being here. Our condolences for your loss. I know that the proclamation doesn't replace anything, but thank you, and thank you for his service.
We were actually wondering if you can change the date to either his birthday or the date that he passed.
So we'll get you a copy of this, and if that's what, yeah,
We can
you'd like that?
amend it. Sure.
So that would be January 19th?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, we can work on that.
Can you give us a call tomorrow, and we'll work on getting you a copy of that, please?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
All right, or as you walk out, if, Ben, would you just come out and take contact information
Yeah.
for them? Ben is the man behind the curtain.
Absolutely, I'll meet you in the back of the courtroom.
Thank you very
Okay,
much.
thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Okay. I now will take a motion to open the workshop.
A motion to open the workshop?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So for the audience, we've got a few items. In the summer, we're trying this out to run workshops at the same time as council meetings. So we're going to pick up a few items in workshop and then come back to the formal council meeting. Once we finish the items in the workshop, we will come back to public comment and then reports, and then we've got 3 laws and resolutions and an approval of minutes. Okay? So let's start up the workshop. First one is South Avenue Sidewalk Replacement Bid Award to Precise Enterprises. Are we awarding it, or are we authorizing the city administrator to sign the contract?
Both.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we discussed previously that we had lined up a project to replace the South Avenue sidewalks on the park side of the street from Walcott to West Center Street. We put out a bid and received 7 responses, which is a really good response this time of year, and the low bidder was Precise Enterprises 2 LTD from Walk Hill, New York, with a price of $185,998. They were off by 36 cents, so I'll note it at 88 cents. So despite that minor discrepancy in their math, they are the low bidder, and our city engineer has reviewed the bid and recommended the award of this project to them. The project, the engineer's estimate was 185, so we were just over slightly, which is great considering the volatility of commodities and labor these days. This project would move forward starting in late August or September if we award this tonight. And the funding for this is coming from the county's Community Development Block Grant funding that the city receives.
Will this new sidewalk be impacted at all by the potential to have bathrooms installed down there?
It shouldn't.
No.
I mean, we would just go under it, George, at some point.
And also the retaining walls by the tennis courts.
We're rethinking the retaining wall. Mark Price has been working with our engineer to try to figure out, like, that was more complicated than I think they initially estimated. So we're actually rethinking how to do that job.
Okay.
Is the expectation that it will take about 60 days, I saw in the contract, to complete, so a couple months?
Yeah, it usually doesn't take that long, but you give them that long to line up their schedule, mobilize. Typically, they come in and they'll do this in a few days.
Could there be, school back in session, and there's the South Avenue School there? Is that something that we as the city would manage, kind of any traffic impact, or would expect the contractor to do that?
We expect it to be done before school opens.
Okay.
we're trying to get them in and out before school opens. If that is an issue, we will do traffic control there.
I had a question about this contract and the next one. In looking at them, they seem like there wasn't a lot of detail in the contract itself, like even the space where you put in the contractor information, and I didn't know, it's possible that I have missed in previous contracts that that's how we do these things, or if that was just because of the timing of when the bids went out and when we had this meeting, that information would be filled out. So I just wanted to ask that to see.
So typically, when we bid, go ahead, Drew. Thanks.
I was just going to say, so these contracts are just a portion of the document. When the awarded bidder signs that contract, they are then obligated and must meet the requirements that are set forth in the bid. So it's hundreds of pages of specifications that lay out insurance requirements, that lay out the specifications for the project, that lay out the performance bond requirements. So there are all those other requirements that are in the hundreds of pages that go into the bid document that are prepared by John Russo's office. So this is just the agreement that gets signed, but they've also submitted, and are required to fulfill all the other requirements in the bid.
So the bid and their bid response are basically appended to this contract and made part of it.
Thank you. My last question is, I didn't go and physically look, but are there any trees that are within those sidewalks right now? I know that's the case on the west side. I can't think of the east side, and just want to confirm if anything will be done differently or if any new sidewalk will just go around the existing trees.
To the extent we can, we're going around the trees. I think there's one dying tree that we took out, but we basically bumped out around the mature sycamores that are there, because we do really have a nice, healthy canopy there, and we didn't want to in any way reduce that.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Okay, everyone else all right?
Yep.
Okay. And so that's going to come to the meeting
Tonight.
right? Is it?
Yeah.
Got it. Good. All right. So second item on workshop is a bid award for the Fishkill Ave and Hanalein sewer replacement, and that's with Sunup. Chris?
Yes, so we've talked a little bit about two projects involving Fishkill Avenue. One is a major roadway project that we hope to launch next year to redo all of Teller Avenue and Fishkill Avenue, including new sidewalks on both sides of the street, all the way from Walcott to the town of Fishkill boundary. Part of that is, in anticipation of that, we're trying to replace the sewer along Fishkill Avenue and through Hanalein. So we put this out to bid. Again, we had a robust response of 8 bid proposals. The lowest responsible bidder was Sunup Construction, who has done other work for us, and they were at $981,849.20. This money was authorized in the capital plan for 2021, and we had authorized it for $1.6 million. Now, that included soft costs like engineering, so we're some hundreds of thousands of dollars below budget on this, and we were pretty happy. You'll see there was quite a range of bids, and I think, again, the Sunup says they're from Wappingers, but they live in Beacon, so it's kind of easy for them to get to the job and mobilize, and that does seem to give them an advantage. So we would be looking to award this to Sunup Construction Corp.
So I had similar questions to Molly's about this one, but you already answered them, and I assume, Drew, it's a similar situation where there's hundreds of pages outlining the specs of the contracts?
Drew?
Yes, that is correct.
So, so that's sort of answered, but I still am just curious to hear a little bit more to the extent that you're able to provide detail on. So I know that, if I'm replacing the sewage pipe around my house, it could be several $1,000s, and it could be tens of thousands if it's a bigger section, but this is much, much more than that even. So I'd just like to hear a summary to the extent that you have a bit of a summary, and I'm interested to know what kind of pipe is there. This is just my curiosity mainly.
Yeah, so these are sewer mains, and the main sewer feed comes down Fishkill Avenue, and then it turns at Hanalein and it goes down to Main Street. And these pipes are pretty. They're not so far below the surface, and we've had issues with them not having enough slope to clear. So like all of our sewage is mostly gravity fed, other than where we have these pump stations that kind of force it through, and even there you want to have a better slope. So what we're doing by replacing these is taking out a smaller, older pipe, and I don't remember the width, and putting in a larger pipe, and then also trying to configure it so that we get a better slope for the sewage to flow. And we worked with Talix Condominium, which was very helpful in assisting us with a new sewer easement. We did have a sewer easement, but we actually had to move it away from the water line. When these were originally done, those lines were much closer together. Now the Department of Health requires a separation, which makes a lot of sense. So we actually are moving the pipe across the road on Hanalein. So what you'll see is we'll be digging up all of Hanalein. We'll be digging up several hundred yards of Fishkill Avenue, and they'll take out, in one case they'll take out the old pipe in Fishkill. We'll leave the old pipe at Hannah and put in the new pipe with, again, you put a lot of gravel around it and then build up a subbase. And then we'll be repaving all of Hanalein to kind of make amends for the mess that we make on Hanalein, which is privately owned. And similarly, we'll patch over Fishkill Avenue, but we won't do that as finally, because we'll be repaving that whole roadway next year. Yeah.
What's the material of the new pipe? I'm just making sure it's not Orangeburg.
It's not Orangeburg. I know that I was about to say it's not Orangeburg.
Clearly.
Okay.
I can find out and let you know.
Just curious. Thank you for that explanation.
Sure. And again, I may not have it 100% right, but that's pretty close, I think. And that's more than Ed wants me to know about this stuff.
I mean, and I get the sense too that if Molly had the hundreds of pages, she would, also be curious to see the specs. It's just interesting. It's something I don't know about. So voting on $1 million versus 1.8, it's just interesting.
Yeah, I'm going to see if it's still up on our page. So we post all our proposals and bid notices, and if you look on our webpage at proposals and bid notices, you can actually pull up the bid. It's still there. And then what you'll find is the advertisement. Actually, that's just the advertisement for bids. So we'd have to get it from John Russo. But typically these bids have, all of the specifications for what you're doing, and then they have a list of items so that they bid by item. So, a 36-inch diameter pipe will be X amount per linear foot, and then repaving is X amount per square foot. So they have different items, and then they bid on all of those, and then we take the final price at the end. And that way, if we need to change quantities during the project, you actually have how much a linear foot of sidewalk is, or a linear foot of asphalt.
Is there a hoped-for timing for this project if we prove this tonight?
Yes, we're hoping to be done by October. And I am hopefully tomorrow finishing the last right-of-way acquisition for the Fishkill Avenue project. And then all we have left is kind of administrative filings. But we're going to seek authorization to go to bid for the Fishkill-Teller Avenue project in late August, and hope to have that out to bid at the end of the year with construction starting next year. And again, that's that almost $9 million project that we discussed when we went over the capital program. So this is really good timing to finish this out well in time to be done for the next project to come along.
I don't think we have a meeting between August 15th and September 6th. if I read the calendar rightly. Do you think there's a chance that you might want to try to get something in earlier to get this thing approved for the Teller bid construction, or you're fine to wait till September?
It'll be later than September.
Okay, so you don't need.
So, yeah, we have to seek authorization to be allowed to go to bid by our project sponsor, the New York State DOT.
Okay, so the next step doesn't involve us?
Correct.
Great, thank
Yeah.
you.
It's an agency authorization, and then we would go out to bid. So my hope is by November, I'm bringing you a bid award for that. And that's a good time to bid it, because people are planning work for the next year.
And what decade do we start planning this?
You started this project in 2010.
Okay.
And then it got sidelined in 2012 when the city came under consent decrees for its wastewater, and the city had to turn its full resources towards complying with that. And then it just kind of got shelved.
That was your fault.
Yeah, I'll take blame.
And so just to confirm, the sewer replacement is the same as the whole construction that we approved in the capital budget, the 1.9 million?
No, so Hanalein was approved in the 2021 capital budget that was passed. What you approved in the 2023 to 2027 capital program was the unfunded portion of Fishkill Avenue, Teller Avenue roadway work. So they're separate. The underground utilities are being paid for in part by CDBG money again. So we got money in 2021 that we're allocating towards that. The rest of it, the city's bonding. And then the Fishkill Avenue, Teller Avenue project is 80% federally reimbursed, 15% state, and 5% local. And again, we think we have the 5% local covered by another funding pot. So there's often that lag, like we'll approve something in 2020 or 2021, and then it took over a year to negotiate this easement.
Yeah.
You know?
Thanks, Chris.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right. Okay, that's 2 down. Next item for the workshop is accessible curb ramp bids. Chris and Drew, apparently.
Drew, you want me to start, or do you want to take this one?
No, can you just give an overview and then I'll jump in?
Okay, great. So when we repave streets using CHIPS funding, which is a state-dedicated fund for repaving, part of the requirement of that is all of the curb ramps in the project area have to conform to ADA standards. So you have an ADA ramp with a detection strip. You see those like kind of hard plastic strips, and then they do the wings of this of the curbs as well. We put this out to bid. We thought we had a project, according to our engineer, that should have been in the $45,000 range. We only received one bid, and that was for $92,000. And we think people are kind of busy, and this wasn't a big enough project, and we might not have put the word out widely enough. So our recommendation from the engineer is to reject the bid and go back out to bid, and then really beat the bushes to say, hey, come on, here's a project in Beacon. Because it's ironic that you got 8 or 9 on those larger projects, and they're already going to be mobilized for like the sidewalks. There's no reason that someone shouldn't jump on this.
Can you remind us which streets in particular this impacts, or which sidewalks in particular?
I would love to do that, but I don't fully know.
Okay.
I am awaiting a list from our superintendent of streets of which streets we'll be paving. I know that the bid did contain that, but I don't know offhand which curbs exactly. But we will get you a list of the streets now that we've confirmed what our CHIPS funding is for the year. We needed to figure out how far we could go down our list, and I know while I was on vacation, Mickey did do that.
Yeah, it seems like a pretty clear choice, given that it's twice the amount that was budgeted.
Yeah.
But I just would like to be aware of which streets are going to not get the curb cuts
Right.
sooner.
Yep, and we can get us that before we approve the bids, because this item
Yes.
later on is just rejecting the current one, right?
Yeah, we're taking, maybe, Drew, you want to take this, why this requires a motion?
Yeah, so this is actually a motion to reject all the bids. So once you have put a notice of bid out there, you receive the bids, you open them. If you're not going to award any of the bids, you need to formally reject them all. So that's what this resolution does, and it also simultaneously authorizes the city to rebid. So you are rejecting the bid because you only got one bid, it's so high, and then you're going to be authorizing rebidding of this project.
And I did confirm from the superintendent of streets that this doesn't delay them for the construction season. So we can still put a bid out, get the responses back, line up a contract, and start the work in probably late September and get it done.
Yeah, that functionally answers my question.
Okay.
So that's great.
I like the screen. It's kind of from Dia, I think. What do you think, Jennifer?
Drew's getting artistic.
No, that was not me.
It's an ink blot test or something. Okay. We okay with this? And again, the item down below is a rejection only, okay? And then I think the last item is just starting up a discussion on leaf blower use. And is it Dan or Drew, or who wants to
I
start
think
that?
Dan was the one who requested this, so.
Yeah, I can start, but I think Drew might be better at going through the memo and the options that they pulled. But I've heard, I don't know about you guys, but I've heard over the last few years from a lot of people who don't like leaf blowers. Recently, I've heard from two people who are offended by it, the noise particularly. One person who was having a medical response to the noise, the whine of a leaf blower. Leaf blowers, for those who don't know, operate in the dangerous, the harmful level, the harmful decibel level for humans, and when you're up close, it's at a very dangerous level. I forget, I don't have the numbers with me right now, but the noise is what I've gotten a complaint about the most, but I think it goes without saying that they're contributors to local pollution and climate change, being small gasoline engines. And yeah, and so I asked if we could put this on the agenda, and Drew or Nick put together a presentation of what our options are.
Okay.
Right, absolutely. So that's what we did, not knowing really the direction that the city council wants to take it in. There's a bunch of options. Right now, leaf blowers are exempt from the noise ordinance in the city code. They are exempt if they're used between daytime hours. In the city of Beacon, daytime hours are from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m., which is pretty standard actually for other Dutchess County municipalities. Except we noted that the town of Fishkill went and restricted the hours of operation. That's actually the only community in Dutchess County that I found that had a more restrictive time limit for leaf blowers. So that's something to consider. 7 to 9 is pretty broad. But again, there's other options and other things that municipalities have been doing with respect to leaf blowers that we wanted to make sure that the city council was aware of kind of what's going on around the city of Beacon, and then, put that forward to contemplate your options. So, one of the things, besides just further restricting your noise, so daytime hours are currently 7 to 9. You can bring that down to 9 to 5. You could change it up for weekdays versus weekends, which is something that a lot of municipalities do. You could take it a step further and do a seasonal gasoline-powered leaf blower ban. That is becoming more popular, especially in Westchester County communities. And there are some municipalities that have gone even further than that to completely ban gasoline-powered leaf blowers. The focus is on gasoline-powered leaf blowers because they tend to be louder and they tend to pick up more dust and cause more public health concerns compared to electric leaf blowers. But it really does, the focus really is about dust control and noise. The city, just to add, the city is preempted from regulating leaf blowers in the context of emissions and air quality. So we do have to focus on your local concerns.
We have to focus on what?
Local concerns.
Your local concerns. So that's, dust control, that's noise. Those are kind of like your two main areas.
So, Drew, I noticed that the communities that have prohibited leaf blowers, prohibited exclusively gas-powered leaf blowers, and I don't have a lot of experience with leaf blowers, but are the electric leaf blowers, I assume, get out your Sears catalog, does it make the same amount of noise as a gas-powered leaf blower, do we know?
No, electric leaf blowers, and I don't have the numbers, but electric leaf blowers are more quiet compared to gasoline-powered leaf blowers. I don't know exactly at what decibel levels, but I do know for a fact that they are quiet.
And I just want to make sure I'm reading this chart correctly. They're not prohibited. They're prohibited most of the year. Is that right? They're allowed from in Larchmont and Irvington. They're allowed for a few months there, right?
So it depends on the municipality you're looking at. Some municipalities have outright banned them. Other municipalities do a seasonal ban. Trying to find one on my chart that is. So Irvington, actually starting December 16th, 2023, will no longer allow you to use gasoline-powered leaf blowers at any time. That's a permanent ban. Versus, I think Pleasantville's on here. Pleasantville just adopted a seasonal ban.
And Drew, when some of these were adopted, was there like a implementation period, so for people to kind of use up their, their brand new gas leaf blower so that they're not throwing it away on day one?
Yeah, so for example, Irvington adopted their local law several years ago and gave everyone a kind of a time period saying that they will be prohibited in 2023. So you do have some transition time to get your electric leaf blowers in order to resell your gasoline-powered leaf blowers.
Okay.
And just, I'm reading that electric leaf blowers make less noise than gas models, but I don't have any numbers yet. So.
Do we have any data regarding other garden implements like weed whackers and so on? I mean, you seem to know something about the decibels and impacts of the leaf blowers. Is a weed whacker similar in its negative effects?
I didn't look it up, but I don't think so. I think the leaf blowers kind of make a very distinct sound also, that whine that kind of grates on you in the second hour.
Yeah.
But
I guess I just want to be careful of what box we open here and how far we want to go.
Sure.
So I think it should be based on as much fact as we can gather, and I think that's an interesting study that, or whatever you said, that has specific frequencies that can cause damage. Yeah.
It seemed
And
like,
I do know in other municipalities when this conversation has been brought up, the sustainability boards or committees kind of take the lead in doing a lot of the research and bringing the numbers to the forefront for review by the governing bodies in those municipalities. That way you have all the facts and you can kind of make the right decision for the community. Just a suggestion, we have to do it. That's where all these questions have come up in other places, and so it might be good to slow down and get a group together to figure out what the issues are and come up with, the actual decibel numbers.
Is that something that we could request from the CAC to do some of that legwork? Would that be wise, just to have as much data as possible?
Yeah, I was thinking that our planner might have some knowledge. But, we're just exploring, so I think we should ask a couple of questions
I
about
like
what
the
we can
idea of the
learn.
most informed people and working on it.
Yeah.
This has come up at the CIC meetings. I think that Sergey probably already has those numbers from a year or two ago.
Okay.
I just looked it up quickly, and a gas leaf blower is 80 to 90 decibels, and they're saying the range for a battery pack one is 65 to 70, and an electric is 65 or a little less. So again, there's 3 types, and we actually tried the battery packed, and the superintendent of streets used it on Main Street because we blow the streets off, we blow the debris into Main Street, and then we run behind with the street sweeper to basically vacuum it up. He reported that he didn't think they were much quieter, and the batteries ran out really quickly. So unless, it's a little easier, I think, for residents where you can have a cord out of your garage or something to have a fully electric one. These battery ones, for us, we tried and we sent it back. It didn't work. Or it did work, but it worked for like 40 minutes and then you're done.
Well, I think that's exactly the challenge with a lot of these implements that we're buying for our homes is that they're built for commercial use, and we're using them on our 0.2 acres, and our neighbors like spitting distance, you know. It's just too much.
Yeah, I did like in how in some of the laws that there were exceptions for different uses, so that could be something, you know, the example, Chris, that you brought up, the city's needs, and there were other ones for golf courses or other large places, so there might be other ones specific to Beacon that, depending on where we take this, that we might consider building in. And I have a feeling we will hear from those members of our community who have those larger plots and might have ideas about how taking away gas ones might pose a challenge to them.
I agree with some of the exceptions that would need to be made. Whoever owns the Craig house will probably want to use leaf blowers instead of rakes, but they're also very far from everybody. And I think the city should have some flexibility here too for dealing with Memorial Park and other big parks too. And that's probably what Austining was getting at by prohibiting everything on a half acre or less, was allowing, you know, people who have to do a lot of leaves could do it. I don't know if a half acre is the right place to start, but that's probably what they were getting at.
Yeah, you'll see, and I think the chart shows this, is there's a lot of diversity to these laws pertaining to leaf blowers, and that diversity really does come out in the public hearings of what are the needs of the community. And you might not even realize it initially. I think in Pleasantville one that they became aware of was the artificial turf. The turf feeds need to have a gasoline-powered leaf blower to get them back into place after a big storm. That was one of their big topics. Another common exception that I think almost all these municipalities have is that after a heavy storm, there's an exception that gasoline-powered leaf blowers can be used for cleanup purposes for, say, 7 days after a large storm. That is the most common exception that I've come across. If the city, and this is, you know, we're talking about a ban, there are other options such as controlling the hours, because right now it is unrestricted between the hours of 7 and 9. So you could also just consider reducing that restriction. That is absolutely a direction you could go in.
And just FYI, Dan, I attended an environmental thing at I always pronounce this wrong, Puncantico. Is that how you pronounce it?
Puncantico?
Botanico.
Thank you, okay.
In Westchester.
In Westchester. And, you can see these Westchester communities are sort of taking the lead. And they did not necessarily recommend making exceptions for large properties. They recommended mowing the leaves and leaving them there and using them as mulch.
I was going to add that raking isn't even a good idea because it's covering grass that's already dormant, and when it's time to rake it up, all of the wildlife everybody that was underneath the leaves laying eggs is done, and 4 days over 40 degrees, you can bring the leaves up, or you can leave them.
Yeah, I'm not generally interested in the idea of making exceptions for larger properties.
Do we want to go to the CAC just for general recommendations on this, or if they have access to data, what would we want from the CAC?
I haven't heard them talk about this recently, but if Ren, you have other information or think that they might already have an interest in this, then yes, giving it to the experts makes sense to me.
I would suggest we check with the county. They must have kind of dealt with something like this before. But I'm just guessing. I don't guess it's not a zoning issue per se, but I'm thinking there might be some knowledge there. And I think we should also check with our own building department, because, you know, the experience that Chris mentions, we should kind of make sure we have, like, how does it affect us, and can we do it? Like, you can't mulch the sidewalks, right, on Main Street. Right, I like the idea of leaving the leaves where they are and mulching them, right? And I'd love to understand if that's a uniformly doable proposition everywhere. But yeah, I think we just need some more research here.
Yeah.
I just don't know who the right party is to get the research done, that's all.
I would say definitely the CAC is a place to start while we think of who else we want to reach out to.
Yeah.
But I would also think about, like, who should be consulted. Like, if we do refer this to the CAC, it would be great if they could reach out to some commercial landscapers so they could understand what the impact. A lot of people just pay to have their lawns done. It would be interesting to know how that would affect, like, an hour thing might not affect them so much, but a seasonal ban could add a lot to the cost of maintaining even a small lawn. Because they can't come in and, they come in and they have a model where they're in and out. They're not going to go plug something in and.
Or they could just mow it.
That is, yeah, possibly.
Yeah, I think a lot of the commercial ones now mow lawns and leave the cuttings on the lawn.
Mm-hmm.
Whether they go the next step of doing that with leaves, I don't know, but I'd like to know kind of why, if they are or they aren't. So that would be worth kind of learning.
And a lot of people use them to clean parking lots.
Oh, right.
Like if you have a large, I know I live near 2 restaurants and they're out every morning blowing the parking lots off, which is great. I hate these things as much as you all do, but we use them.
I will reach out to the person who organized the Rockefeller Brothers Fund thing, because they really were speaking to golf courses and that huge property and T-Town, and there were some great presenters, and it was years ago, so I'll reach out to that person and just get the presenters' information.
So this is a good initial discussion. I think what we're hearing is, let's see if we can kind of learn some information. Chris, can you kind of shepherd the different pieces, if that makes sense? Or
yeah, why don't I send a copy of Drew's documents to Sergey and ask them to review it. I'll try to sum up some of our conversation about who they might want to check in with, and Ren, if you have contacts and can send them on, I'll include those.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll do something.
I think whatever law we do end up passing, the city should at best try to comply with it as well, and not, I understand this, but it's certainly a bad example to pass a law and tell people they can't do it, but we have to do it. So we should also look at whatever options we might have.
That was the concern of our staff.
Yeah, yeah.
That if you ban this for residents, and then we're saying, but we can use them, it doesn't look very good. And frankly, we don't, right now, they're really useful on Main Street, and when we mill and pave, I don't know how you get that level of clearance.
The only thing that's, and I've seen this in electric lawnmowers. 3 years ago, it would last an hour.
Right.
Now, within 3 years, the batteries have improved so much that you can do a huge lawn with it for a few hours. So the technology is constantly advancing, so we should just keep abreast of what technologies are available.
If there's a specific application for these things with milling and paving, or any other kind of city function other than doing an entire park or parking lot, perhaps that could be a carve-out that we put in as well. You know, if there's like a specific task for a specific amount of time, we can leave it to the discretion of the city administrator to.
And I'll try to get from our DPW an overview of how they use them, other than what I've said tonight. And just, because there may be something I don't know, like they use them to blow out a storm drain, or they, I don't know, that's what comes to mind. Gutters, sometimes people use them to clean.
We'd also have to look into enforcement as well. A lot of this infractions, if they do occur, might happen on weekends. And who is it that enforces it? Is it the building department, who is not necessarily here, or is it left to the police department to enforce such?
It seems like enforcement now is, for these kinds of things, is like residents would call the building department and say, oh, there's something going on, right? Like.
But they won't be in office hours.
No, I know,
weekend,
but
yeah.
I think from a practical point of view, once these offices are closed, the person who's going to respond are the police, because it's not an ongoing activity. It's not like, you know, Mr. Smith is building a garage in his yard, and they can catch him on Monday.
Yeah.
If you weren't there on Saturday to catch him, I think this is going to end up a police function if we do it on hours that building department staff aren't there.
Right.
There's a, sorry, let me just find the city that had this, but the first offense was just a warning, and then the second offense was $250. I don't know where I saw that one, but.
And the third is we go and plow up their lawn.
That's right.
We asphalt it.
Replace pollinators.
Okay, good enough for first discussion, and we'll, do some research, come back.
Yeah. We'll
Okay.
make a referral.
All right, great. That's it for the workshop. Are we okay to go back to the agenda of the regular meeting?
Yep.
I just wanted to say thanks to Drew for the research that she did already.
Yep, thank you, Drew.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
So the next item on the formal council meeting is public comment. And the list for public comment is empty. But if anyone in the audience physically would like to make a comment, this would be the opportunity. You've got 3 minutes on any topic you like. Can you state your name?
My name is Teresa Kraft, Liberty, live in Beacon.
Okay.
Regarding the leaf blower and gas lawnmower dilemma, if we can't have chickens throughout most of our neighborhoods, can we at least have goats? We can trim grass. We could trim the grass with the benefits of milk and cheese. Are we as a city and residents paying attention to a new application before the Town of Fishkill Planning Board? They are considering changing the zoning district with a special use permit to allow a large self-storage facility complex at a location that we all know as a historic 1800s country estate up by the Route 9D and 84 corridor. Some say it will be better than if it's a gas station or a long list of permitted uses, but this will bring in large, heavier traffic and constant 24/7 activities next to a quiet residential neighborhood and a routinely congested roadway. If we think the traffic is horrendous now at this location, just wait. Your concerns must be heard at the Town of Fishkill meeting level. Let's not forget we saw this room filled recently to capacity with out-of-towners for our own local agenda items. Keep a watch on the outskirts of our city limits because it does impact the quality of our life. And while I'm mentioning quality of life, I would like to see this council address the mental health issue and the lack of services playing out on our city streets. It's not enough to hand out food by the generous and overtaxed local nonprofit organizations. It's time to step up this conversation on a municipality level. We need to stop turning a blind eye. The streets are calling for help. Thank you.
Thanks. Anyone else? Welcome.
Jennifer Mackwitz, 9 Falconer Street. I don't know if you're supposed to say that. And this is about the leaf blowers also. As was mentioned by Drew, who did some research, Larchmont has completely banned gas-powered. And this is really just about the gas-powered. leaf blowers. 19 towns, cities, and villages prohibit certain times of day or certain times of the year. Senator John Lewis introduced a bill that prohibits use from May to all of May through all of September. That bill is still, I think, in Congress. We're still going through what it, and actually, I think the town of Peekskill is also putting through a bill to ban not just leaf blowers, but all yard equipment that runs on gas. 100 cities across the United States have banned them. California is going to ban everything in 2024, any kind of gas-powered lawn equipment. And then we talked about the noise and the decibel level in the particulates, but the emissions are really a big deal. All these engines are two-stroke engines that burn gas and oil, and a lot of that gas gets just thrown into the air if it's not burned off. Edmunds, the auto information company, has said that using a leaf blower for half an hour is similar to driving a pickup truck from Texas to Alaska. That's 39,000 miles. That's how much hydrocarbon gets into the air from these two-stroke engines, they're called. And then the decibel level, the figures I got were 70 to 100 decibels for the gas-powered, and that's 100 decibels is like the sound of a jet plane taking off. And so it does a lot of harm, and that's kind of also because of the low sound that it makes. You can hear it through walls. I mean, it's one of those hard that kind of sound just permeates everything.
15 seconds.
And the particulates, they're blowing dust, pollen, animal feces around at 200 miles an hour and disturbing little habitats in the ground, ecosystems that we really should be protecting.
Thank you. Anyone else in the physical public want to make a public comment? If not, Ben, anyone in the ether?
If you're on Zoom and you'd like to make a comment, please use the raise hand option at the bottom of your Zoom screen. If you're on phone, you can press *9. If you're watching on YouTube, ny.gov. And at this time, we have no hands raised on Zoom.
Okay, so let's go on to reports, and we'll start with Molly and go around the horn.
Sure. I would like to thank the fire department, both the professionals and volunteers who helped with the tragic fire at Mr. Bell's and Amy's Braids on Main Street a couple of weeks ago. It was, a tragic loss for them, and I hope it's great to see all the people who came out to support them and have contributed to various ways they can contribute, and also great to see our fire department and all of the mutual aid that comes along with that as well, responding as quickly as they did. And saving, if not that business, but maybe actually making a difference for the other businesses and residences right around there. Along the theme of mental health, I wanted to amplify something that is on our Beacon website right now, that New York Project Hope, one of their partners, is Astor Services for Children and Families, and so there's information on there that anyone can reach out for free mental health support related to COVID. So I'll give you the contact information for the person who's coordinating it, Megan Wright, and you can reach Megan at 845-204-5223, or if you prefer email, it's mwright, MWRIGHT, at astorservices.org. And you can find more information on our website as well, beaconny.gov, and they also have a list of free classes and just meetings and meetups that you can join over Zoom, and you don't have to register in advance, and you can show up, and those are also free. So anyone who think they might benefit and want to check it out, it's both for youth and for families. Could be a service for them. And I'll pass it to you, George.
As many of you know or may not know, this past, or about a week or so ago, we tragically lost a member of our community to a drowning up at the reservoir. I happen to know the person that we lost. He was a young man who did something that he shouldn't have been doing. He was fit, he was a wonderful person, and thought he would live forever. And he took these chances that I hope no one in the future does. And that we remember to keep, to not swim in that reservoir, because there is no one there to look out for you, and you also compromise the integrity of our water system. So please take that into consideration. It's dangerous. It may not seem so, but even the young and strong can suffer that, can drown. So please be aware of that. And then, Chris, I was wondering too, I've been receiving some complaints from business owners on Main Street because they've noticed a few food wagons, food trucks parked on the streets during the weekend. Mostly, there's been a complaint about one on Eliza Street, and I don't know who they complained to at that time, or should it be the police? Would they be able to enforce something like that?
They should call the building department, or they can call our main number at 838-5000.
But on a weekend, that's again the problem.
I'll have to talk to the building department and figure out, because we've had a couple of applications recently for like hot dog vendors, and we're not taking new vendors. We have plenty of brick and mortar businesses.
Yeah. Yeah, it's those businesses that were complaining to me that they felt
and
like...
justifiably, they're the ones paying taxes, and then somebody comes and sets up shop outside.
Yeah.
No one has a permit to do that.
Yeah.
There's only one licensed food truck in the city right now, and that's at the waterfront, and that was done through an open, transparent, competitive process, an RFP process.
Yeah.
So if they, let me talk to the police and the building department, and I'll get back to you.
I can give you more specifics in private.
Yeah.
But it is something that is more likely going to happen on a weekend than not, and so it's who enforces that law on a weekend, because by the time Monday rolls around, the truck is rolled on.
Got it.
All right, thank you.
We'll work on that at the staff meeting.
Maybe we can look at other opportunities for the food trucks. Like maybe the parking lot at the Mountain could be a place where we allow a food truck, because there's, other than Bob's, there's only Bob's is there. There's no other brick and mortar. I don't know. Maybe there's some other locations where we could.
I mean, I think the prior councils had chosen to allow an exception for Pete and Toshi's Secret Park, because there really is nothing down there walkable. Whereas, and I think that was done a long time ago when we had less businesses. Now, what I find is we get strong resentment from the brick and mortar businesses. Like when the farmers market brought in a coffee vendor from Ulster County, that didn't go so well, and we have had to remind them they're not allowed to do that. Again, I think if you're paying taxes and you're maintaining a property in Beacon, and you're selling hot dogs and somebody else is selling hot dogs, and all they have is a little couple $100 cart or a truck, I would want the people from the Mountain to come to Main Street and patronize the businesses there.
Yeah, and we spent quite a long time drafting that law and really looking into what the impacts would be. So I feel comfortable in the law that we have. I just want to know how it's enforced.
Yeah. Well, I'll dig into that. Thanks for bringing it up.
Thank you.
Thank you, Molly and George, for bringing up some some concerns that are central to our community here. I will just note that my office hours this month are going to be this coming Sunday from 4 to 6 at Pole Hill Park. Come talk to me about anything we've been talking about.
And I'll forget, so I'll say my office hours are Wednesdays. My email address is on the website. They fill up about a week in advance, so email me if you can, and we'll make an appointment. I also wanted to thank Superintendent Muncy and the and Highway for clearing the undergrowth or overgrowth on the sides of the roads. That is a really cool machine. What is it called?
The Arm of Death.
Oh my gosh, of course, that
That's
has a cool
the
name.
informal name.
Well, it is
It's a trim-
decreasing the deaths on Stone Street, I think. It does, I mean, it's still a tricky intersection there, but it does make a difference. I think probably all over the city, but that place is really on my radar. And primaries, August 23rd, so please educate yourselves on the candidates. We have a new district. Please correct me, people, if I'm getting this wrong. District 39. No.
Is there a primary for District 39?
No.
We'll get back to you.
We'll
get back to you.
There's a very important special primary on the 23rd.
You'll say that one too. Also during our week off, I'll put that in quotes, I had the opportunity to go around and take a look at some of the proposals that have been put before the council and they're in various stages of development, whether it's just the concept designs or neighbors coming in and talking about some of their issues. And I'll just say it's interesting to me. I want to know that we're doing a good job and that what our systems are in place are working or not working. So please continue to communicate on that. I certainly have concerns over environmental preservation, our wetlands, and the safety of pedestrians, and where there are sidewalks and where there are not is already a matter of concern. The condition of the sidewalks is already a matter of concern, and we're putting so many resources into working on that. But I think sometimes our vision for block by block isn't necessarily in step with what that's going to do to the safety of the streets. So I'm concerned about that, and I just wanted to share that with everyone. That's all. Thanks, y'all.
I wanted to share the information for voting as well. It's a weird year because we have two primaries because of some of the redistricting nonsense that went on after the census, but the election, the early voting is in August 13th to the 21st, and election day is the 23rd. You may well be on vacation in the month of August, so please go to the Board of Elections website and get yourself an absentee ballot if you plan on being away. In that vein, I will not be having office hours in the month of August because I'll be traveling with my family, and I'll be out of the office for the last few weeks of August and will be unresponsive to email for a while. In case you're trying to reach me, you can contact your at-large council person or you can CC Chris White. The other thing I wanted to mention is this Saturday is Beacon's annual Cookout, which will start at 10 a.m. and go late on Saturday, and they're still accepting donations. If you visit the Facebook page for Beacon Annual Cookout, there is still a need for donations, and see you Saturday.
Okay. I'm going to pass. I want to do that once in a while. Chris?
Molly, thank you for thanking the fire department about the fire on Main Street. I just want to, again, echo how effective they were in responding to that. They were on the call within 1 minute. And then our police joined them in evacuating all of the residents from that. So the fact that we got through that with the fire knocked down quickly, very limited smoke damage because they brought in large fans to blow out the smoke, and they cleared everybody with no injuries, just speaks to how well those two departments responded. We have listed for a new fire chief. Many of you know that Gary Van Voorhis retired and is working for us on a part-time basis. We are now doing an active national search for a new fire chief, and we will hopefully be interviewing people towards the end of the summer on that. I do also want to give you an update on our community aggregation program. Some years ago, the state set up a program where municipalities could come together and they could bid for electricity so they could get a cheaper price and buy green power. The state passed that back in 2017. City of Beacon in 2018 or 2019 entered into an agreement with Joule Assets to bid out our electricity for residences and small businesses, and we joined with 9 other municipalities in doing that. You may have heard lately that the vendor that was providing that green power, Columbia Utilities, had notified the state that they were going to back out of the agreement. Beacon participated in securing a temporary restraining order against, Joule led it, but we signed on in support to stop the company from doing that. We were notified at 5 o'clock today that they used another route to circumvent the temporary restraining order, in which they basically didn't pay into collateral that they owed to the independent system operator, which operates the major transmission grid in the state, and they are now banned from selling power in the state of New York as of Friday. So as of tomorrow, all of the customers in Beacon that were part of this program are going to be shifted back from Columbia Utilities with their green power at a fixed rate back to the utility, which is Central Hudson Gas and Electric, at a variable rate. Fortunately, that variable rate is currently lower than the fixed rate, so people aren't going to see a bump in the bill. But when demand goes up again, like it did last winter, they are going to see it. Our attorneys and I have been on multiple calls with Joule. We'll be supporting efforts to try to force this company to be accountable for their lack of performance on the contract, and we have engaged the Department of Public Service to try to help as well. So I do want to let everyone know that over the course of the next month, you may be getting your bill from Central Hudson rather than Columbia, although it's going to split a pay period, so it could be kind of confusing, and Central Hudson doesn't even know really what they're going to do with this yet. But I do want to let you know that the municipalities are not at fault. This is squarely the fault of Columbia Utilities, and there's probably going to be litigation following this based on what they've done. And again, I think that program, we were only the second one in the state, so I'm hoping the state intervenes to defend this program, because it really is an important mechanism for moving our grid to a greener grid. And it did save our taxpayers a lot of money when the variable rate for electricity went to 21 and 22 cents, and we were locked in at 7 or 8 cents per kilowatt hour.
I agree with everything you're saying, that this has been a really great program for our community. My one follow-up question is if the CCA hotline is going to continue to be live through this?
Yes.
So people have questions.
That's a great question. So right now, we're going to be taking an action with Joule in the next 2 days to file a letter with the court that held the TRO asking for an emergency conference. They are also preparing talking points that will be distributed to all of you and put on our website, so that when you get calls, as you inevitably will, you can have something to hand people. Central Hudson and Joule will be rolling out letters. So we're in the process of reviewing the draft letter from Joule, just to make sure it's clear, like, what exactly happened. So it's unfortunate. The company is one of 18 different holding companies under this Columbia Utilities. And they really, this is their fault. This is their malfeasance. Yeah.
On a lighter note, we forgot to mention this weekend is Open Studios. Beacon Open Studios this weekend. It's back.
Okay, that's the end of my report.
Okay. We ready to go on? All right, there's three items for resolutions. The first one is authorizing the city administrator to execute an agreement with Precise Enterprises 2 for the South Avenue sidewalk replacement. That's the item we talked about during workshop. Can I get a motion and a second?
Motion.
Second.
George and Paloma. Any discussion? And again, are we also comfortable voting on it after, the short period of between workshop and council?
I have no issues voting on it.
Okay. Any discussion? Pretty quiet. All right, so let's do a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, second item, also one we talked about earlier. This is authorizing the city administrator to execute an agreement with SunUp Construction for the Fishkill Avenue and Hanalein sewer replacement. Can I get a motion and a second?
Motion. Second.
So I think it was Ren and Molly. Did I get it right? Okay. Any discussion, and again, any concerns with voting on it, having just discussed it? Okay. We good?
Yeah.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
And anyone opposed? All right, 2 down. Third one is a motion to reject a bid received for the 2022 Beacon Accessible Curb Ramps project. Can I get a motion and a second?
Motion.
Second.
That's Dan and Molly. Any discussion on this? And recall, it's a motion to reject a bid.
I'll just say I was happy to hear that this won't hold up the overall timeline for projects.
Right, and we've got some more information that will come back to workshop when we're ready to rebid, right?
Yeah, I'm hopeful to have something back to you by August 15th.
Okay. Good. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. And of course, there is the scintillating approval of minutes. I'm looking for a motion to approve the minutes of July 5th and a second.
I have one edit. Should I bring that up first or after the motion?
I need to make a motion.
All right, a motion then.
Okay. And it's-
Second.
All right. So Molly and Paloma, and there is a comment.
Right at the end, I am referred to as Council Member Molly, which I do appreciate and I kind of like. And I think when I make my official little badges, it will say Council Member Molly, but I believe probably for the purpose of the minutes, it should be consistent. So.
Council member consistent?
Councilmember Rhodes.
Good.
Ben, I hope you didn't do that on purpose. I think
I hope he did.
Ben wants to make sure people are reading the minutes, so
Oh, I think you should put an Easter egg in every one.
we may. We seem to.
So,
It's the motion to go into executive session, Ben.
Councilmember Molly, that's got a good
All right.
ring.
any other
We'll make the
comments, changes, amendments, additions, jokes on our minutes? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
With that one amendment. Okay. So now we have a second opportunity for public comments. Anyone who has not spoken to the first opportunity for public comments would like to speak now, this is your chance to do so. I will skip the in-person portion because everyone has spoken here. Anyone online, Ben?
No hands raised online.
Okay, so I will entertain a motion for an executive session on the topic of
Contracts.
contracting.
You go ahead and do it.
You want it?
No.
Motion to go into executive session on the topic of contracting. There will be no other business discussed or done after the executive session.
That's the motion from Paloma,
Second.
and a second by Councilmember Molly. All in favor?
Aye.
That goes in the minutes as Councilmember.
Okay, so thank you all for being here, and we'll do our executive session shortly.
Yep,
Thanks.
and it'll be quick.
Great.
So